Hi there, my name's Martin Sutton. I'm the founder of the Songwriting Academy, and in this course I'm going to be teaching you about choruses and hooks. To begin with, I just want to say that I listen to a lot of songs that are in the charts, historical songs, and also songs that people send me. And I've got to tell you that so much of the time I'm really disappointed when it comes to the chorus. And I feel that people haven't paid enough attention and haven't really crafted the chorus with enough love and care to really make it stand out. A lot of the time the melodies don't lift high enough, and I've lost count of the amount of times that I've done song appraisals and asked the writers to lift a chorus by a third or a fifth. Just take me up somewhere exciting and give me something fantastic. Lyrically, I often find that they've just shortchanged me by not delivering enough of a message in the chorus. So this course is designed to help you focus on your chorus and to learn how to craft it properly, to use different techniques, to find out how to contrast between other sections of the song, and how to take people onto a mountaintop and feel absolutely unbelievable when they hear your chorus. Don't be one of the people that puts a song out there that everybody just goes, nah, it's okay. You've got to knock them out with your song. Okay, so I get many questions about choruses. Often the first one is, how soon should we hear the chorus? Now, there are plenty of songs in the past that you'll wait minutes until you hear the big high point of the song. But if you're writing for today's market, my advice, it used to be a minute. My advice would be 30 to 45 seconds before you actually get to that chorus. If you can get to it quicker, then great. And so if the chorus is that great, start the song with it. But we're going to talk more about that a bit later on. But don't hang about. Trust me, if you send a song to a record label or a publisher and you leave them waiting more than a minute to hear your chorus, then all that effort will be wasted because they won't listen that long. If you're lucky, you'll get 30 to 45 seconds if you're lucky. But you need to bear that in mind. So really get it in quickly, get the hooks in quickly, and get them invested in your song. Another question I get asked a lot is, how long should the chorus be? Once again, there's no defined length of a chorus. But think of it this way, writing songs is all about balance. So if you've got a super long verse and or a super long pre-chorus, then the listener's not necessarily going to be able to process a super long chorus alongside that. So for me, to create the balance, if I've got a very long verse that's got lots of information in it, then my chorus will be short and sweet and to the point, and it doesn't have to be terribly long. And of course it works vice versa as well. Simple, short verses, give them some more meat on the bones, as I call it, in the chorus. So how many times do we want to hear a chorus in a song? Well, once again, it's dependent. It's going to depend on the length of the chorus. If you've got a very long chorus, then the song is just not going to wear having 4 or 5 of those because it will make it a mile long. So it really is going to depend on the length of it. But here's a few tips along the way. First of all, for me, I like to keep the first chorus and the second chorus pretty much identical, unless there's a critical thing that I need to change in there. I'm not a fan of listening to a chorus and then hearing the second chorus and suddenly it's different. It's like you're teaching somebody one thing and then you're trying to teach them something brand new when they're ready to sing along with what you've just taught them in the first one. So a rule of thumb for me is to keep chorus 1 and 2 pretty much identical. And again, a standard thing that's done in many songs, which really works to reinforce the chorus, is to have 2 at the end. What we do at the end is we add extra elements, which I'm going to be talking about a little later, but we add extra things to keep it interesting, but we give them 2 choruses at the end. This is a way of getting your sledgehammer and just absolutely beating down that hook and the point of the song, so when they walk away from your song, that's the thing that they remember the most. And here's a little tip as well. Let the last thing that they hear be the biggest hook in your song. So the title of your song, the main hook, let that be the last thing. I would avoid doing the Layla thing where you suddenly go off into a completely different section. It can feel very clever to do that. And sure, there are going to be some people that enjoy that. But for most of the listening public, if you want them to remember the title of your song and the hook of your song, let that be the last thing that they hear in the song. So one important thing to think about when you're creating contrast is that you don't have to use all of these different things. You don't have to change the rhythm, the phrasing. You don't have to change the melody, the harmony. The more of them that you do change, the more impact that your chorus is going to have. But by having a significant difference between the two parts, between, let's say, the pre-chorus and the chorus, or the verse and the chorus, by having a significant difference between the two will create great contrast. Even if your melody were to stay exactly the same, but your verse is saying, giving a lot of information about something, and then your chorus just goes, well, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. Lyrically, it just says the same thing over and over again. And it's incredibly simple. That will still have an impact because we'll feel the change between it. But for me, the more of these things that I can incorporate into my songwriting and into my chorus, the stronger it seems to become. So try working with 1, 2, 3, or as many of these different things as you can to create that contrast. Okay? I would also say for the chorus, when we're talking about the harmonic structure of it, of course, if you are an incredible player, the temptation is to be super clever with your chord progressions. People love simple. And if you're delivering a message that you want them to hear in that chorus, my advice would be to keep your chord progression simple. It doesn't mean that you have to dumb it down, but it does mean that you're not asking people's brains to focus on something different musically that's going to detract from your message and your hook. So I would say don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't mean that you can't, at the appropriate point, throw in a 4 minor or something to suddenly highlight one of the chords, one of the lines of the song. That can be a very, very powerful tool. But try and keep it simple. I'm going to play you a little snippet of a song of mine called Michelangelo. And the chorus is very, very simple harmonically. But what it does is that it throws in a slightly curveball chord, if you like, to draw attention. The reason I use that curveball chord is to draw attention to the lyric. It's not there to show that I know a funny chord, because to be honest with you, I can't read music. I couldn't tell you what this chord is called. However, I know that by using it, it makes people listen to the line that is most pertinent in the chorus. So the chorus goes, Michelangelo had 20 painters paint a wall. The Sultan had 1,000 men to build the Taj Mahal, and Alexander Graham Bell had someone waiting on the phone. Baby, I can't do this on my own. So you can hear in that song that I go, waiting on the phone, which is a crazy chord. But when people hear that, they go, oh, what's that? And then I deliver my killer line. It's like sticking a flag in the song when I want them to listen to it. Baby, I can't do this on my own. So hopefully that chorus stands alone to you as well, and you can understand that it's someone asking for help. Because Michelangelo needed help, so did the Sultan, so did Alexander Graham Bell. So that's one example of using very, very simple chords, but using a curveball chord, if you like, to draw attention to an important line of a song. Try doing it yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about one of my favourite subjects, which is melodic contour. I bet you when you went into songwriting, you never thought you'd hear those two words next to each other, melodic contour. I remember being in my geography class at school and endlessly mapping out things taking coordinates from a map and then heights of the land and creating these diagrams. It used to drive me insane. However, I think about that now when I'm writing songs, because for me, having a chorus reach a high point melodically is super, super important. Why is this? Well, people respond better to higher frequencies. They respond more emotionally to higher frequencies. Sure enough, the low frequencies can make us feel uncomfortable. You know, when you're watching a horror movie, you'll hear that low groaning sort of throb, and you can feel it. In fact, you won't even hear it. You'll feel it in your stomach, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. But what really draws your attention? Screams. Okay, now I'm not saying scream in your songs, but high frequencies attract the human ear and they attract the human emotion. Think about police sirens going past. They're not going past going woo, 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 like this. They're loud and high to attract the ear. Also, bass is not so unidirectional as well. Bass is omnidirectional. It can come from anywhere. But we can see that high frequencies, we know that high frequencies are more directional as well. So other examples, let's think about if you want to attract someone's attention, you're not going to go, hey, you're going to shout out in a high-pitched voice. The same way a baby cries. Who can ignore a crying baby? Okay? They don't go, give me some more milk, do they? They scream at the top of their lungs and are very, very high-pitched that can almost take your eyeballs out. So this is why I know that having high frequencies in songs, those are the points that are going to attract attention. And of course, that when we sing higher, we're far more passionate about it. So try singing a love song in a really low key and see if you can deliver the same passion that when you're on your toes and really reaching for those big notes, because that's when your heart's really in it. So this is the way that I look at it. For me, I think of the verse is at sea level. Imagine this as a landmass. The verse for me is at sea level, and I'm just sort of like meandering along a road next to the sea. My chorus, I want to be on a mountaintop. The pre-chorus is what leads me up the hill to the mountaintop. Think of it this way. If I were to put a blindfold on you and hold you by the hand and say, hey, I'm going to show you something, going to take you for a walk now. And we walked and walked and walked, and you didn't feel any change in the height of the land. You didn't feel any climbing at all. What you're expecting to see when I take the blindfold off? Probably very little, probably exactly the same. But imagine if I blindfolded you, took you for a walk, and then slowly you started to feel that we were climbing up something. So your expectations change. And then the climb gets steeper and steeper. And then finally you can feel the wind blowing in your face. You can feel fresher air. You know that you've climbed up to somewhere pretty high. And then you feel your toes on the edge of a drop. Okay? What are you going to expect to say when you take the blindfold off and I show you the view? You're probably going to say, wow. That's how I think of my choruses. I want people to say, wow, whether they love the song or whether they don't love the song. I want to blow their socks off when they get to that top of that mountain. So that's why melodically, I think of the verses at sea level, the chorus being on a mountaintop. Take them there, give us a wow, give us something that we're going to just be absolutely knocked out by. And use the pre-chorus, if you have one, use the pre-chorus to take us up there and to build our expectation melodically. So low notes in the verse, higher notes in the pre-chorus, and then the high stuff, save it for your chorus. Don't steal it in the rest of the song. Save those highest notes for the chorus. That for me is what melodic contour is, and why it's such a powerful tool for you to use when you write choruses. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rules, and the melodic contour that I'm talking about can go the other way. It can be what we call a reverse contour. So you'll probably have in your music collection songs that start really, really high in the verse and people are singing it on their toes. But then when it gets to the chorus, it drops down. So if you think of something like Coldplay's Fix You, which does exactly that, and the chorus melody is much, much lower than the verse. But because it creates such a contrast by being so different to each other, it still works. So this is something you can also try, but you'll probably find that most songs are going to have the impact when we go from low to the high point in that chorus. Okay? So now I'm going to talk about repetition in choruses, and repetition is the songwriter's best friend. For anywhere in a song. If you want to teach someone something, you repeat it. Think about the way that you learn languages. You don't just read a textbook with some foreign words in it and go, okay, yeah, I can speak Swahili now or Portuguese just by reading a book once and saying it once. No, what you do is that you look at phrases, you repeat them over and over again until they're absolutely lodged in your mind. Thinking about any kind of revision that you do for exams, you would read it, you would write it out again and again, you would say it out loud again and again and again. So we have 3 minutes to teach someone a song. So the best way that we can do that is by using great melodies, great lyrics, but by repeating something. When we stumble across something that we really want to say, it's important in the song, then we repeat it, especially in the chorus. This is where we get to the point of the song where we're making the point of our song. Why just tell them the point once? Surely you've been in an argument with your partner and you haven't just said, well, I just want to say this, and then you let it go. No, you say it again and again and again because you want to hammer that point home. So let's not treat the song like an argument, but let's use the same technique. Let's repeat something. So repetition is absolutely key. So if you think about songs like Love Me Like You Do, Ellie Goulding, love me like you do, la la, love me like you do. Even repeating a part of one of the words helps to absolutely make it stay in the mind. Love me like you do, la la, love me like you do. It's just brilliant songwriting. It may be annoying to some people, but it gave her a monster hit song. Think about The Weeknd, I Feel It Coming. I feel it coming, I feel it coming, I feel it coming. That's all it does. But all of the rest of the information is in the verse. We don't feel shortchanged by not knowing what the song, what it is. We get all of that in the rest of the song. So this harks back to what I was saying earlier on about contrast within a song. And so when we have plenty of information in the verses, then in the chorus, we can actually just find a hook and repeat it over and over again. There was a song that I had recorded by a French-Canadian artist called Garou, and we had a pretty big success with this song called Heaven's Table. And the chorus of the song is, not all the angels, not all the angels, not all the angels sit at heaven's table. That was it. Simple, simple, simple. And it worked. So another form of repetition that we can use would that, of course, both of those, all of the examples I've just given you are melodic repetition and lyrical repetition pretty much combined, certainly with I feel it coming, I feel it coming. Very, very similar melodies, exactly the same lyrics. But we can also use a thing called sequential repetition. Now, this is slightly more complex, and you'll find it a lot in jazz music, but you'll also find it a lot in pop music as well. And when I say pop, I mean popular music. So let's not confuse that with bubblegum pop that some people will turn their nose up at. This is popular music, commercial music that is selling right around the world. You'll find lots and lots of sequential repetition as well. So one great example of this is Killing Me Softly. So a sequential repetition is where we get a sequence of notes, which isn't then repeated at the same using the same notes, but the sequence is repeated at a different placement within the key. So we feel that we're hearing the same thing over and over again, but in fact they're different notes, just working in a very, very similar or identical sequence. So Killing Me Softly, killing me softly with his song, telling my life with his words. Very, very similar sequences. Then then with his song. So we have exactly the same amount of syllables in there as well. Killing me, and then we get the real sort of waterfall effect. killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song. So we feel repetition, but they're different notes, right? Now this is really, really cool because it really opens you up to not having to sort of, for those of you that don't want to be tied into just repeating the same melody over and over again, it's a little bit more complex and it's a little bit more subtle as well. One other example of a commercially successful song that uses sequential repetition is Dua Lipa, IDGAF. Now, albeit a shorter sequence, she's using sequential repetition, and it's this. So just having that little couplet repeated, but in different places in the key, that gives us the feeling of repetition, but it's not doing the same notes over and over again. So very, very smart songwriting. Going back to my song Michelangelo, here's another example of sequential repetition that I've used. So going back to this chorus again, if you listen to the melody here, it's the same sequence, but it's in different placements within the key. So Michelangelo had 20 painters paint a wall. The Sultan had 1,000 men to build the Taj Mahal. Da 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 da. So Michelangelo had 20 painters paint a wall. The Sultan had 1,000 men to build the Taj Mahal, and Alexander Graham Bell had someone waiting on the phone. Baby, I can't do this on my own. So all of the phrases are actually very similar, but the sequence on the first half of the chorus is repeated, but in different placements within the key. So there's another example of sequential repetition. One other thing to note is that short note progressions are really easy to remember. So couplets and triplets are very, very easy to remember. Think about the way that you remember a phone number. You don't remember every single digit all linked up to the next one. We'll split it up. 020, 836. We'll split it up into 2s, 3s and 4s. Similar thing with songwriting is by having short sequences of notes, they're far easier to remember than long sequences of notes. There are exceptions, but if you give people little bite-sized chunks in 2s, 3s and 4s of notes, then they're far, far easier to remember. Now I'm going to talk about lyrical placement within each bar itself at the beginning of each section. This is another way of really, really good way of creating definition between the parts. And there are 3 different placements primarily that we can look at. One is where you sing on the first beat of the bar. So here is my song. It's very kind of nursery rhyme. Here is my song. I'm singing on beat 1. Okay, so you can hear that I start on beat 1 of the bar. The second way of doing it is starting after beat 1 of the bar and leaving a gap. That creates a little tension and pulls the listener in. Space is a really, really good way, and silence is a really good way of drawing people in. So I could go, here's my song. It's not on beat 1. Or I could do it even later. Here's my song. It's not on beat 1. So you can hear that silence actually sort of creates a, what's happening here? And then we deliver something. So it's a great way of drawing attention to a line. So those are 2 ways that we can do it. So another technique we can use is, another way that we can place the lyric on the bar is by using what we call a pickup. So a pickup line, doesn't mean, hey, what are you doing tonight? You look gorgeous, will you come home with me? It's not one of those. It's a line that runs into beat 1 of the bar. So, here is my song. It's climbing up to beat 1. So you can hear that all three have got their own character to them. Just as a reminder, here is my song, or here's my song, or here is my song. So very, very contrasting elements. So if you use one of those in the verse and keep it the same even for the pre-chorus, use something completely different for the chorus. Now, I had a song released in Germany last year that did really well by an artist called Michael Patrick Kelly, called Run, Jump, Fly. And if you go listen to that, you'll hear that the verses all fall on beat 1, and the same with the pre-chorus as well. And when we were writing the song, myself and Michael, we got to the chorus and the verses start, standing on the edge of a mountain, I can feel your heart is pounding. Then there's a gap. Hold on, here we go. Okay. The pre-chorus goes, we got butterflies in our bellies and are burning deep inside, but we're so alive. So it all falls on beat 1. When we wrote the song, the chorus was originally, let's run, run, run and jump, fly. And for ages in the session, I was thinking there's something that doesn't work with this. There's something not quite right. And it was because the chorus was landing on beat 1 of the bar. And that's what the verse and the pre were doing. And it bothered me because it just felt a bit samey. Even though the melody was lifting, you know, I said, you don't have to change everything. The melody was certainly lifting, but there was something missing. So what we did is we simply left beat 1 of the bar alone of the chorus. So we had the pickup line. Let's run, run, run and jump, fly. Let's run, run, run and jump. And that created enough definition for the chorus to suddenly have a new life of its own. The cool thing was lyrically, it was doing the same thing. Let's run, run, run and jump. So there was this sort of pause just before the jump. And that's what we call prosody, when the lyrical theme and the melodic theme match each other. So go have a listen to it anyway. I could do with all the Spotify plays that I get. So Michael Patrick Kelly, Run, Jump, Fly, and you'll hear that I've used exactly this contrasting lyrical placement on the bar to create definition between the parts. So when do we start the song with the chorus? There are no specific rules, but there are a few sort of guidelines for this. There was a very famous producer of the 60s and 70s called Mickie Most, who produced many, many hits of those decades. And he very funnily said, if the chorus is that effing good, start the song with it. He wanted to get the hook in as soon as possible. And he's right. So if you think about songs like The Foundations, baby, now that I've found you, I won't let you go, starts with the chorus. In fact, it starts with a double chorus. Then it has a verse, a pre-chorus, and then another double chorus. And then the pre-chorus again, and then another double chorus. And in 2 minutes and 38 seconds, I believe it is, they repeat their chorus 6 times. I've never heard anybody who loves that song say, it's a great song, but there's an awful lot of choruses. What they do is they go away singing it. And right from the get-go, we're taught the chorus of the song and we're singing along. Within 20 seconds, we're singing along with the chorus. How cool is that? How would you like someone singing along with your song within 20 seconds? So consider starting the song with your chorus. There's another song by Shawn Mendes called In My Blood, which starts with half of a chorus, but it gets that hook in early. And it's a slightly lower beat version, if you like, less dynamic version that the main chorus is. But what it does is it immediately sets up the hook. And so you know the song really, really well by the time the chorus really kicks in. You'll also hear this in Camila Cabello's Havana. Go have a listen to these songs and you'll immediately get the fact that they're driving home the hook straight away. There are certain times that it's not such a wise idea to start with the chorus. You'll find in a lot of country songs that the story of the song relies on what we call a punchline, which is the line at the end of the chorus that suddenly makes you go, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen. And in those instances, if you start the song with a chorus and give away that punchline, that what we also call a payoff line, if you give that away, then the verse doesn't have so much interest. It's almost like telling the punchline of a joke before you've actually told the main body of the joke, and it just gives it away. So if your song, your story, your lyrical story relies on a special line that's going to turn things around, make people look at the rest of the verse in a different way, then you might want to leave that until the actual first chorus itself, rather than beginning your song with it. One thing that I always make sure that I do when I'm writing songs is when I think I've got the finished article, I'll isolate the chorus, I'll test it out. And this is more of a lyrical test than anything else. But what I'll do is I'll mute all of the rest of the verses, everything surrounding the chorus. And I would just listen to the chorus by itself and ask myself, does the chorus make sense? If the listener only heard the chorus, because that's what grabbed their attention when they're driving along or shopping in Tesco's, if that's the only thing they heard, would they get the point of the song? And this is a really something for me that I think a lot of people overlook, is that when I ask them what the chorus actually means, they say, well, if you listen to the verse lyric, that's what it's describing. It's like, well, I might not have a chance to listen to the verse lyric, or I might turn on the radio and it's 5 seconds before the chorus. So I haven't had that luxury of listening to everything else, the precursor to the chorus. So this is just a tip from me to you. Isolate your chorus. Ask yourself, does it make sense lyrically? And if it doesn't, then try and make it make sense lyrically. Try and make it a standalone statement or question, or whatever it is, the point that you're making in the song. Make sure it's clear and not dependent on any other part of the song. So what is a B chorus or a drop? So this is a more recent development in songwriting, and this is where the chorus chords are completely copied over, and it's almost like having a double chorus. However, not all of that lyrical content is included in that second chorus. It's often just the main hooks are repeated again and again and again. You'll find in EDM music and pop dance music that this is where the track has built to a massive crescendo and has just climaxed throughout this whole section, and that makes you listen to the hook over and over again. Now, it can either be that the hook of the first chorus, the main chorus, has been repeated again and again, or it can be that something new has been introduced, a new hook has been introduced into the song. Sometimes it can be as simple as a chant. So if you listen to Clarity by Zedd, you'll see that it just goes into a massive chant. It's almost like a football stadium chant. And it's a brand new hook that we haven't heard anywhere else in the song, but it becomes an integral part of the entire song. So have an experiment with B choruses. Even if you're just writing on a guitar or a piano, try repeating a chorus and just finding either the hooks that you have sung in that first chorus and repeating them at various points within that chorus, that B chorus, or trying to create a whole new hook to go in there. And try playing with chants as well. Imagine a football stadium. What would they want to be singing that's really, really simple? And here's the key. The B chorus, the drop, is always very, very simple lyrically. It's not more information. It's just repetition of hooks. Let's talk about finishing the song now. Whether we finish with the choruses, whether we don't finish the song with the choruses, how many we use as well. So remember earlier on that I said chorus 1 and 2, I like to keep them virtually identical. This is because once I've taught them the chorus, I don't want to give them something confusing when it comes to chorus 2 that makes them forget what I've already taught them. So I like to keep those two virtually identical to each other. However, by the time it gets to chorus 3 and 4, let's say I'm finishing my song with a double chorus, If I just give them the same thing 2 more times at the end, chances are they're going to switch off. Not because it's a rubbish song, but because they'll go, it's just human nature. They'll go, oh, okay, I've got this now. There's nothing new and exciting for them to listen to. So my job is to give them something new and exciting to listen to. What I'll often do production-wise, I'll add extra instrumentation on there. I will put maybe some ad-libs or some extra guitars doing some licks around something, whatever it may be, depending on the type of song that I'm working on. But in terms of the main melody and lyric, when I have a session singer coming in to sing those songs, I will ask them to deviate from it. I will ask them not to necessarily go crazy, but to deviate a little so there are new changes, so the listener gets a chance to listen to something new. Often those changes will be higher in the register to create more excitement. I want the listener to be more excited when they listen to those final outro choruses. There are many ways to actually finish the song, and a long time ago I used to use fades on the chorus. These are very, very uncommon these days to have a fade in music. It's kind of the area where you're just waiting for someone to turn off, really, until they get bored. Who listens to the end of a fade of a chorus? It's very, very rare. So it's more likely to just finish the song completely, and so people go, great, okay, I can move on to the next one now. Occasionally I will finish the song by repeating the very, very first line of the song, but more often than not, I follow a piece of advice that an amazing producer, Chris Neal, gave me many, many years ago. He said, whatever you want the listener to walk away singing and remembering, make that be the last thing in your song, in the production of the song. So it's very, very common for me now when I write a song for my title, my biggest hook, my main hook, and the point of my song to be the last thing that they hear in there. So I tend not to go off in different directions after those final outro choruses. And I definitely don't do the Layla guitar solo in it, which is a completely different song. So that's my advice to you. Get people to remember your song by giving them the thing that you want to remember, that main point, that title, the hook. So here's my final tip for choruses. I get sent a lot of songs, and often I'll hear that the main point of the song or the melody of the chorus or very prominent words and phrases from the chorus have been used in other parts of the song. And I'm always disappointed by this because they don't feel special in the chorus anymore. And I always feel that, and I use the word diluted, that if your chorus is saying, I love you, for example, just to use the most simplistic thing that we can think of in terms of songwriting, if the verse or the pre-chorus is saying, I love you, then immediately it dilutes the impact of the chorus. So my advice, and this is how I work, is that I will take all of my good stuff, the good stuff in the chorus, and I will lock it away in a treasure chest. And I imagine a big treasure chest with a big chain wrapped around it. And in there, you'll find all of the prominent words and phrases that are pertinent to the chorus. You'll find all of the highest notes in the song in that treasure chest as well. And the biggest hooks, my best hooks, will be all in that treasure chest, and you won't find them other places in the song, because I don't want to dilute it. So think of this, when you get your chorus and when you listen to your final song, think to yourself, have I stolen things out of my treasure chest to use them in other parts of the song? And if so, let me replace them. So that is almost hallowed territory. That chorus is the chorus only, and it's very, very special. So get your treasure chest and lock away your goodies in it.